Hello friends, you're welcome to Ismatis. In today's class, we'll be talking about one of the important topics of mathematics and engineering, which is circle geometry. Before now, we should have known that geometry is the scientific study of shapes. In science, they study a lot of things. Now, geometry focuses on shapes, any type of shape you can think of. We have the rectangle, the triangle, the squares, the kite, the rhombus, and any other type of shape. Then, circle is one of those shapes. In shapes, we have plane shapes and solid shapes. A circle is a plane shape. So, we say that, first of all, what is a circle? In circle geometry, what is a circle? A circle could be defined as any round shaped object that has no corners. In simple word, any round shaped object that has no corners, just as it is running. You can use a football. A football is in circular form. You can use any other form of object that that has just a round shaped body without any corners or any joining. There's no place, no edges. It just runs round. Such type of object is called a circle. Though in engineering and other areas of science, they may define it as two-dimensional plane shape. Two-dimensional plane shape. That is one of the definitions of a circle, but of course, we call a circle is just, in simple word, any round shaped object that has no corners. And in a circle, there are many things that is worth knowing. There are many important things that is worth knowing. One of those things, when we talk about the parts of a circle, talking about the parts of a circle, we have the part that runs round. If you bring any round object, you have that outer part, or any other type of object, you have the outer part, and that object must also have the inner part. So this outer part of this circle is referred to as a circumference. Circumference. So we can define a circumference of a circle as the distance round the circle. The distance round the circle. So when we run round this circle, the distance that goes round this circle is termed the circumference of the circle. The circumference of the circle. This is one of the major parts, or what forms the major parts or the boundary of a circle, the circumference. So it is the distance round the circle. Okay. Another part of a circle we need to know is the center of the circle. The center of the circle. Center of the circle. When we talk about the center of the circle, it is just a center point, or it is just a focus point where any distance measured to any part of the circle, which we call the circumference, of course, that is the part of the circle, that is the outer part of the circle, we call the circumference. So the center of the circle is the center point or the focus point in which any distance measured from that center point to the circumference of the circle, which is the major boundary of the circle, will be equal. So the center of the circle is the center point where any distance taken to any part of the circumference are equal. So what that means is that any distance you are taking from this place any distance at all you are taking, inasmuch as it follows from this common center, all these distances from this center are equal. So it is a center, that is why we call it the center. The center, that is the reference point where any distance taken to any part of the circumference becomes equal. That's about this. Another aspect of a circle, or another part of a circle we need to know, is the radius of the circle. The radius of the circle. The radius of the circle is just a line segment drawn from the center of the circle to any part of the circumference. That means all these distances from the center to the circumference, all of them are termed radius of the circle. So we represent the radius usually with r. So if this line segment running from the center of the circle to this circumference is termed a radius, that means any other line running from that same center of the circle to any part of the circumference will still be referred to as radius. And what that means is that whenever any line runs from the center of the circle to the circumference, which we call the radius, all the lines running from this center of the circle to any part of the circumference are equal. That means the radius of the circle, of course, the plural part of radius, we call it radii. The plural part of radius is called radii. Then, considering all these radii, they are equal. Get this point. The radii of a particular circle having a common center will always be equal, except on one condition, when we are talking about what we call a concentric circle. When we say a concentric circle, we mean a circle inscribed in another circle. That is, a circle that is contained in another circle. This is a circle, this is another circle. This circle is contained in this bigger circle. So we call this concentric in the sense that they have equal center. Concentric. This is it. Concentric circle. The centric here is talking about the center. We have defined what the center of a circle is. So when two or more circles have equal center, or they have the same center, they are referred to as concentric. It is only on this condition that we can have something like this. The radius, but the radius of this particular circle will always be equal. If I call this r, and then the radius of this one, I call it this bigger r. So for the bigger circle, its own radii will still be equal. So, but will be different from the radius of the smaller circle. The radius of the smaller circle here I represented with the small r, but for the bigger circle I use the capital R. This is the only condition where the radius of a circle may not be said to be equal. But for a single circle, the radius or the radii, as many as they may be in the circle, will always be equal. This is one thing about the circle that we need to know. Okay, I have mentioned the radius of the circle. Another part of the circle we need to know, aside the center, the circumference, the radius, is we have the diameter. If this is the center of the circle and a line segment, let me call it A to B, a line segment running from A to B and passing across the center of the circle will be regarded as the diameter. The diameter. And this diameter, of course, earlier before now we said that any line running from the center of the circle to any part of the circumference is the radius. Same applies, this is the radius, which is R. Same applies when this line runs from here to this part of the circumference, we also call it the radius. But when the line runs from one end of the circumference to another end of the circumference, passing across the center of the circle, we call that line diameter. In this case, you can see that the diameter is just made up of a radius and another radius. And you have also heard that the radii of a single circle having a common center are equal. Because of that, the diameter becomes the radius here plus the radius here. That makes twice a radius. Addition of one radius to another radius, that makes 2 radii. So 2 radii gives 1 diameter. When we'll be talking about the formulas that are connected to a circle, we'll be mentioning each of them one after another. But for now, the diameter is any line segment running from one end point of the circumference to another end point of that circumference and passing across the center of the circle. That is what we call a diameter. Another part of a circle we need to know is what we call a chord. A chord. Just like the diameter, a chord is a line, is any line running from one part of the circumference to another part of that circumference. Is a line segment running from one part of the circumference to another part of this circumference. You may be forced to ask, if this same definition I have given to a chord is still the same definition I almost gave to the diameter or something of that, you can be forced to ask, what does it mean they are the same or they are different and having the same definition? But the simple answer to that is that a chord is the same, the diameter is the largest of all chords. So the diameter is also a chord, but the diameter is the largest of the chords. So the diameter here is also a chord. So in case someone may decide to ask you, what is the largest chord in a circle? The largest chord in a circle is the diameter. So if the chord runs from any part of the circle, from one part of the circle to another part of that circle, they are all chords, but the largest of all the chords of a circle is the diameter. Okay, I hope that's very simple. Then, having known about what a chord is, we check another part of the circle. Another part of the circle we can talk about is we talk about the sector of a circle. When we talk about the sector, a sector of a circle is formed when 2 radii, this is the center of the circle. Any line running from this center to any part of this circumference is called a radius of this circle. Another line running from this center to another part, also a radius of the circle. So when 2 radii of a circle meet, when a radius of a circle touches, of course, a radius is just a line segment running from the center of the circle to any part of the circumference. When we draw this line segment, which is the radius, and draw another line segment, so when two radii join different parts of the circumference, they form an inner section, which we call the sector. This inner section is what we call the sector. Now, you can look at this. This inner section we have here, which we have called the sector, has a smaller inner sector and a bigger inner sector. The smaller inner sector is called the minor sector, and the larger or the bigger inner sector is called the major sector. Just as you may have in any other aspect of sciences, this is bigger, this is smaller, just like superlative and comparative. So this is bigger and this is smaller. So the smaller sector, the smaller inner section cut out when two radii of a circle join at different ends of that circle is called the minor sector, while the bigger inner section is called the major sector. Now, having known about this, we talk about another part of a circle. Still, we don't do away with the center of the circle, which is here. Assuming I have this center of the circle as O, I have this part as A and I have this part as B. This from A to B here is called an arc. And what is an arc? And in a circle, an arc is just a curve that is being cut out on the outer part of the on the outer part of the circle, that is on the circumference of the circle. When two radii of a circle meet at different points of the circumference. Let's take this simpler. Taking this radius of the circle to one point of the circumference, taking the second radius to another point of the circumference. Of course, these are the radius of the circle, the radii of the circle. So when they join at different points of the circumference, they cut out a curve at the outer part of the circumference. That particular curve they cut out is called the arc. It's called an arc. So this arc you are seeing here forms part of the boundary of the circumference of the circle. You can look at this. This has divided the circle into two parts. One of the parts is smaller, or it divides the circumference into two parts. One of the parts is smaller. Consider what we did earlier. The smaller part, we call it the minor arc. The minor arc. And the larger part running from here to here, we call the major arc. This is the major arc of this circle. So the arc is just an outer part cut out when two radii join at different points on the circumference. They cut out an outer part, and that outer part is called an arc. Remember, it is different from a sector. A sector is an inner section. When we talk about the sector, we talk about this inner section that is being cut out when two radii join at the circumference of the circle. The inner section they cut out is the sector, but the outer section, the outer part that is being cut out when two radii join with the circumference of the circle at different points is the arc, having the minor arc and the major arc. The minor sector, the minor inner section, and the major inner section, which is the smaller and the bigger, as that. All right. Another part of a circle we need to know, we have the segment. The segment. A segment of a circle is formed. Remember earlier before now we've talked about a chord. A chord of a circle is formed when that is when a line segment runs from one part of the circumference to another part of that circumference. A chord is formed. Now, a segment, of course, you can see an arc is any line that runs from one part of a circumference to another part. That is, it divides the circle into two, mostly when the radius comes into it. Now, having a chord, which is a line segment running from one part of the circle to another part of the circle, and we have this line running from here, from this end point of the chord to another end point of the chord, which we call the arc. So when you join these 2 points, they form inner section. They form an inner section, and this inner section they form is called a segment. This inner section has divided this circle into 2 parts. We have the smaller part and the bigger part. The smaller part we call the minor sector, and the bigger part, the minor segment. The bigger part we call the major segment. The major segment. So the segment is an inner section when a chord and an arc joins together. They form an inner section which we call the segment, which divides the circle into 2 parts. The major segment, which is the bigger part, and the minor segment, the smaller part. Another part of a circle we need to talk about is we talk about the semicircle. Yes, the semicircle. The semicircle, just as the name implies, is just a part that divides the circle into 2 equal parts. It divides the circle when a diameter, the diameter is a line segment that runs from one part of the circumference to another part of the circumference, hence dividing the circle into 2 equal parts. So these 2 equal parts of a circle is being called a semicircle. Semicircle. The semicircle you are seeing here is also a segment of its own, just like the segment we have talked about here. But the difference here is that the semicircle being a segment, of course, we said earlier that the diameter is one of the chords, is the largest chord we have in a circle. So this forms a segment too, because we said that a segment is formed when a chord of a circle joins with an arc of a circle. So this arc here, formed when the diameter cuts across the center of the circle, is called, when they join, they form this inner part called the semicircle. Of course, the semicircle of a circle, they are equal. That is, dividing the circle into 2 equal parts. So it is also a segment on its own. This is what we have as a semicircle. Any portion that divides the circle into 2 equal parts is called a semicircle. It is gotten when a diameter of a circle is being applied in that circle. That is, when a line segment is being drawn from one part of the circle to another part of the circle, passing through the center of the circle, it forms this inner part called the semicircle, which I said is also a segment that is half of a circle, that is semicircle. Okay, now having talked about the arc, the sector, the diameter, the radius, the chords, the segment, and the semicircle, all these form the major parts of a circle. These are the major parts of a circle whenever we talk about circle geometry. Now, all these things we can see here, they have their application in mathematics and engineering. They have different formulas, and we are going to see how these formulas are being gotten using this circle as a reference. We have different theorems that are being applied in it. We are going to see all those aspects of the circle in our next video. So this is about a circle in a simplified explanation of all the parts of a circle, and I believe this was so okay. Please keep subscribing to our channel. You can be expecting our other videos. In the next video we'll be talking about different formulas of a circle. Thanks for watching this video, and do stay connected as you expect our next video where we'll be talking about the different formulas for solving problems of a circle and also other theorems of a circle. Please do stay connected. Subscribe to this channel. Always like our videos and drop your comments to help us improve better in our services to you. And please share our videos to your friends, to your loved ones, to your family, and to every other person that may need to see it, that may need to know mathematics better than they do before. Alright, until the next class, bye.